Hi there, Chrissy here, and today I'm going to show you how to make this card that I created using stamps from W+9 and some product from Faber-Castell. I used some Gelatos and some Paper Crafters crayons. So I'm going to start out with just a piece of 80-pound cardstock, just the white, and I always tape my cardstock down to a non-stick surface or another piece of paper whenever I'm working with stencils. The worst thing you can possibly do is work super hard on something and then at the last minute have the stencil move and then all that work goes to waste. So I always tape it down with washi tape. You can use any type of repositionable adhesive that works for you. I like washi because I have tons of it and it's just a great thing for me to use. So here I laid down a stencil and I'm just coloring in bits and pieces of it using the Faber-Castell Paper Crafters crayons. These are really cool. They're very similar to, I guess you would just say, regular kids crayons, which I use all the time because I have a little girl at home. But these are nice because there's a nice plastic barrel, you have a lot more control, but they still have that kind of like waxy feel. So I had lifted up the stencil and I just kind of wiped away the excess waxy residue that I got from when I went around the stencil. Then I just laid it back down and now I'm putting on some translucent embossing paste. And I'm just using a palette knife. This doesn't really take much practice to get it right. You can use your finger to lay it down, you can use cardstock, a palette knife, whatever you want. And then I always scrape away all the excess. The one thing I want to say is immediately throw that stencil in water because that embossing paste does start drying pretty quickly and it will stick to your stencil. So you can see I'm kind of scraping off the edges. Just be careful because when you're using the Paper Crafters crayons or if you're using any type of other color to dye your paste, you don't want to put it back into that container because it'll contaminate your container. So I let it dry for about 45 minutes and then you can see what it looks like when it's totally dry and how the silver from those Paper Crafters crayons really kind of pop through. And I have a stamp set here from W+9 called Strictly Sentiments. And I just kind of laid it out to see where I was going to put that sentiment to make sure I had enough room and that I liked the way that it was going to look. So I just grabbed 3 gelatos. I used the yellow, the orange, and the red. I kind of wanted like a sunset type ombre look. And you just go nuts. Just throw them on that cardstock. Be as messy as you want. Totally be a kid again. Because later I'm going to come in with a damp paper towel and I'm going to blend them together. So don't worry about the way that they look when you first put them down. If they look messy and unblended, because that's how they're supposed to look. If that's the look you get, you're doing it right. So you can use your finger. You can use a wet paper towel like I'm doing. You can use baby wipes if you have them. You can rub any way you want to move the color. You can kind of see I'm going back in and like moving my paper towel around because I'm pulling off so much color because I did use really vibrant colors and that's perfectly fine. You can go up and down, you can go left and right, go in circles, any way that it works for you to get it all to blend. I kind of went with a circular and an up and down motion and then I went back in and added just a little more gelatos to make it blend a little bit better. I wasn't happy at first with the way that it looked and as it dries it even blends a little bit better. So when you saw the picture at the beginning of the video, the final card, it was even blended better than it looks here. So, oh, and I always put a scrap piece of paper underneath. I still work with a non-stick craft mat, but it's just a lot easier for cleanup to pull away a piece of paper and throw it away instead of cleaning off my mat. So you can let them air dry if you want. I'm kind of impatient. So that's why I use my heat gun. And you can see that the color is changing a little bit as it's drying and they are kind of blending together a little bit better. It still does look in this a little bit stripy, but like I said, it was dry, but it probably could have dried a little bit longer. But I wanted to get my card done. I had my mojo. I wanted to get it going. So this is that set that I was talking about from W+9. I'm going to use VersaFine ink. There's all different inks obviously out there that you can use. I like VersaFine when I'm stamping sentiments like this that have like those real thin lines because it really gets in there. The ink doesn't bleed, it looks great. It's made, that ink is made for things like this when you have real fine detailed images or sentiments. So this ink works perfect for this type of font. So I'm just going to go ahead and it says smile, you got this. And I thought that was bright and happy to go along with this bright and happy card. And the texture looks so cool. I love that embossing paste with the gelato. I love the mix of those two. I see people all the time do like mixed media pages and stuff, and I love the way that it looks. So I also decided to add a little bit of spray mist. Now, when I use spray mist, I don't often actually spray them using the top that it comes with, the spray bottle. I actually prefer to dip brushes inside it because I have a little bit more control. You can certainly go ahead and use, what it came with, and you can even use that tube that's connected and like flick it on there. I've done it before and it works okay. Like I said, I just prefer brushes because I feel like it's a little bit more control. So I just take it and I kind of flick it with my other hand. And that way, the areas that I need more, I put more, less, I just don't do it. Sometimes when, you're using the actual spray nozzle, it just kind of goes wherever. And I wasn't happy with the way that some of that worked. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to score a piece of black cardstock. And so that's going to be my card base, and then I'm just going to adhere the front of the card with some heavy, some strong embossing tape, strong adhesive. I have that on there. And then a tip that I have for you too is don't be afraid to use black cardstock as your base. I know it's hard to write inside. Just cut another piece of white cardstock and there you go. Then you can stamp or write whatever you want inside for your recipient of the card. So there's the final card. Thanks. I hope you will give this card and technique a try.